Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Rebellious Wellness Lifestyle. Mary Sanders is somebody that I know you're going to love. We're going to talk about chakras. We're going to talk about the hidden path to the body's wisdom. I'm always looking for ways to get in touch with what the body is trying to tell us because it speaks volumes, but we have never really, most of us haven't been trained to listen. Mary, welcome and thank you for being with us.
Greg, sincerely, it's my honor to be here. So thank you for the opportunity to connect with you and all the beautiful listeners out there.
Actually, I should have said Dr. Mary. I'm so sorry. Mary, is a medical intuitive and a chiropractor. And she's really on her journey is all about helping people with their transformation, to help people create health and happiness and purpose. And she does that using energy medicine, spiritual embodiment, and meditation, three things that I'm wildly fond of because I know they work and are important for our lives. Anyway, Dr. Mary is going to talk to us about how we can listen to the body and the importance of the chakras in that. Now, I have to tell the listeners, and admittedly embarrassed, that I was a non-chakra believer. It wasn't that I didn't believe in them, but over all these years of personal development and spiritual development, I knew about them, but I thought, I'm not going to do that her third chakra meditation because I don't know whether my third chakra needs it. So I put it off to the side. But there was something about Mary's profile when I saw her and her website, and it just hit me. And I also was listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he talks about the chakras having little energy bodies and brains of their own. That lit me up. And then you came into my world, and here we are. So I'm going to let you, first of all, tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and how you came to be a medical intuitive.
That is just an open-ended question. But
Okay.
before I dive into that, Greg, I just want to circle back to something that you alluded to, and that is that as women, as a certain age and maturity, we've been conditioned through the environment, through our relationships, through our family dynamics, not to lean into the somatic wisdom that resides within each and every single one of us. It's
Mm.
counterintuitive. So if your body is talking to you, and when I say talking to you, I'm talking about areas of tightness, discomfort, areas of pain, or perhaps areas of desensitivities, like you're just not connected to that region of your body. Typically, the body is holding a message for you to assimilate as part of your healing journey.
Mm.
Now, listeners, I want to say, and I just want to acknowledge that all of you are listening to this platform and have been following Greg for some time because you know that there's some truth to what it is that she's trying to share with you. And we didn't get this far in life with life experiences. Now, let's be honest, life has thrown us all some curveballs. So we're not coming from a fractured place. We're not coming listening to Greg being broken. We're all whole. We're highly functional. And yet, intuitively, all of us know that there might be areas for improvement,
Mm.
areas that we could step in to more of our essence, more of our wholeness. And so, from that lens, I want to invite all of you to start listening from an expanded place of awareness, thinking about the body as a holistic and integrative organism. We've all been taught we have a physical body. And hey, by the way, you also have emotions that get stored in that physical body. And surrounding all of us, we have this subtle, unseen energetic field that's driven by electromagnetic currents. So when I start talking about the idea of energy medicine, I'm talking about all the various different modalities, whether it be sound therapy, whether it be hands-on modalities such as Reiki and chiropractic and alternative hands-on healing and light vibration, all of those things come together underneath the complementary and ancillary services of energy medicine. Okay. Now, I'm going to tell all of you, I have had my hands on physical bodies for over 30 years as a practicing chiropractor. The human body never, ever ceases to amaze me.
Mm.
Never. It is the most beautiful organism that I've ever encountered. And I have so much respect for what it is that we have the ability to do, and that we have this innate intelligence that resides within all of us, that we can heal our own selves. We heal from above down, inside and out. That's what lit my fire when I went to chiropractic school. So that was in 1994. And so the reason that I was motivated to go to chiropractic school was because I was born hearing impaired. And so my hearing capacity is 50% what the normal hearing person hears. But I had this uncanny ability to feel things through my hands and to feel things through my body. Now, I was raised in a very conventional Catholic upbringing with my parents, both highly religious, and so I never was supported in that area of my life until, as a young adult, I chose to embark upon the field of chiropractic. And let me tell you something, there are some really beautiful spirits out there that believe that the body can heal itself, and I'm one of them. So I've carried that forward for over 30 years. And in that process, I've also been an avid yoga practitioner.
Mm.
I've been stepping onto my yoga mat since I was 21 years old.
Wow.
Interestingly enough, I was taught by my physics professor in undergraduate school. It was back in the day when it wasn't frowned upon, and it wasn't a fraternization, but he was an instructor of mine, and we would have yoga classes as a group. And his philosophy was a lot different than the Western philosophy that I had been indoctrinated in. So, as life unfolds, yoga was a physical practice for me initially. And then it tapped into something a little bit above and beyond what I didn't know what was happening, but I was noticing some really amazing shifts. So then it became more of a breath practice for me. And I used the breath in order to direct the energy throughout my body. Then it became a meditative practice to me. So as you can see, I'm not as bendy nor as flexible. My practice is not as showy as it once was 30 years ago, but I can still hold my own when I step on that mat. And so that's been the foundation for me stepping into my own energetic awareness. Okay.
Mhm.
Once I as life happens to all of us, I went through a pretty radical burnout in my professional career pretty young. I was trying to live up to everybody's expectations than other than my own. And to make a long story short, my husband and I decided to uproot, sell everything, and we moved to Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. And when I moved to Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, I woke up on the other side of the world. Literally, everybody, I'm telling you, you feel upside down. And I went through a huge identity crisis. I didn't know who I was if I didn't have a brick and mortar practice, if I didn't have an influx of patients coming in through my doors every day. I didn't know who I was and what my purpose was and why I was still here and what I was supposed to be doing in the second chapter of my life. And so I decided, I didn't necessarily decide. I'm sharing this story as if I had a linear, like, objective that I wanted to accomplish. Anything, my life has been anything but linear. But my life then directed me to Bali, Indonesia, where I then, for the first time, stepped into a YTT, my yoga teacher's training certification in Bali. And then I came back to Ho Chi Minh City and I fell in love with meditation. For the first time in my life, I had time. And so
Mm.
consequently, I was able to surrender into the state of my parasympathetics and allow my body, my mind, and my spirit to fully experience what meditation had to offer. Now, I had some really far out there experiences. And so I was like, wait a minute, time out. I need to intellectually understand what is happening here. So I went online. Here I am in Ho Chi Minh City. I got introduced to Dr. Tal Ben Shahar, who he's a positive psychologist. And to make a long story short, he was the person who was talking about the neuroscience as to what happens when you meditate. So I flew from Ho Chi Minh City into upstate New York and actually Lenox, Massachusetts, and studied underneath him to better understand, like literally what was happening in the space between my ears when I was meditating. It needed to make some intellectual sense as to some of the experiences that I was having. Now, mind you, I understand the human anatomy and I knew the body extremely well from the neck on down, but I was really intrigued as to what happens neurologically in meditations. And I was blown away. I was fascinated by the science, and then I had the experiential awareness on top of it. It blew me away. And so that kind of held the space for my personal kind of spiritual exploration into better understanding what's happening in the spiritual domain. And that led me to the Academy of Intuition Medicine. And the reason that I chose to study under Dr. Talbin or under Francesca McCartney in Sausalito, California, was that she was tapping into the information that we receive above and beyond the traditional five senses. Now, mind you, one of my physical five senses is compromised. And so
Mm.
I have innately always been receiving information above and beyond the traditional five senses. I'm a highly sensitive, energetic person who picks up a lot of information. And Gregory, if I was a betting woman, I would say you fall in that category. And so does probably 80% of your listeners. And so that's when I finally said, you know what? I have an understanding as to what's happening within the physical body with my chiropractic understanding. I have an appreciation as to what's happening within the brain through my years of working in positive psychology and meditation. And now I have an awareness as an intuitive medicine practitioner. So I combined all of those strengths, and now I show up as a medical intuitive. I utilize my strengths as a clairsentient individual, and all that means is that I feel energy in other people's bodies within my own. And so I'm able to help hold space, sacred space, for that transformative healing in other people.
That was quite a journey you took us on. Thank you.
Probably longer than what you wanted, but there you
No,
have
no, I love hearing people's journeys because, of course, in hindsight, we can say, oh, of course, that's what happened, why I moved to Ho Chi Minh City. Of course, that's when I met that guy. No, I think it's always quite interesting. So I know that a lot of people listening would say, I really would love to be one of those people that gets messages. I want to feel energy. I want to. So travels to Vietnam, probably not going to happen. Studying under masters of these kinds of energetic modalities, not going to happen. What would you say to somebody to where do we need to begin to become this receiver or this listener, hearer of energetic messages?
The first thing I want to say, Greg, is to you and to all the listeners, you have access to all this information just as I do. And you don't have to go to school in order to strengthen those nurses. I think at this phase in our lives, ladies, we just get to trust the information that we already have received.
Mm.
Okay. Now, I guess when I sit back and when somebody asks me, how can I strengthen my intuition? The first thing I say is sit in an expanded state. And what does that mean? I'm inviting you to sit and develop a formal meditation practice, allowing your awareness to shift beyond the conditioned thoughts and the programming that we all have. And so, as we shift levels of consciousness, okay, as we do in our meditation, we can expand our awareness beyond our traditional five senses. And that's such a beautiful place to be because everybody receives information differently. Now, as a host of a podcast, Energy Medicine, I get a lot of guests who say, yeah, I'm really clairvoyant. And the funny thing is that we can both agree that the definition of clairvoyance is clear seeing, but how somebody defines clear seeing for themselves is different than how I define clear seeing. The same is true for clairsentience. How I feel is different than how somebody else feels. And so, what you really get to do as a novice is just sit in this expanded state and listen. Listen with an open heart and listen from a state of compassion. Ask the curious questions that you have. For example, Greg, if you're sitting there in meditation and your right shoulder hurts, you don't get to say, oh, I need to stretch more, or I need to get a massage, or I need to deal it from a musculoskeletal standpoint. Yes, you may need to do that, but chances are there are emotions stored within that area, and there is trapped energy in that space or another corresponding energy center. And so by asking these questions, like in a meditation, hey, body, I feel you. I feel that you're talking to me via my right shoulder. What is it that you're trying to tell me? How can I listen better? Oh, and so then you start to just get whatever messages, however they come. You get to honor them and you get to trust them.
Mm.
Then you get to ask the body, hey, how can I release this area of discomfort? What do you need from me? Does it want to travel from the shoulders, the elbows, arms, and wrist? Does it want to go down the back and out through the legs? Does it want to come out the head? You get to start to ask the right questions in your body. If given the respect and the intimacy in developing a relationship with you, it'll tell you.
Mm.
It'll tell you exactly what needs to happen.
That's such a beautiful idea. I've had that experience. I was in a large group meditation at an event, and two gentlemen from India were conducting this meditation and the sounds, the chanting and things. And before he started, he said, if you find there's a pain in your body, I want you to send it love and talk to it. And I immediately thought, okay, fine, whatever. And at the time, I did not have a very happy back. And sure enough, my hip started to hurt, but I did it. And honestly, it just was this, if I remember correctly, it was like my hip was crying and just saying, you never pay attention to me. And thank you for the love. It was really a beautiful thing. And my hip did loosen up and feel better by the time
Yeah.
45 minutes was over. So it is possible if you're listening and you think, oh, that's not for me, it's not going to happen. I'm the original skeptic, and that was many years ago. I'm not so bad anymore. It's
Mhm.
possible. But I think the word surrender comes to mind. You have to surrender the disbelief that you might have been conditioned, as you mentioned earlier, to have that this is possible. So,
Absolutely. And I have countless stories.
oh, I'm sure.
For those of you that are sitting there in a moment of disbelief, I'm just asking you to gently be in a state of curiosity and open-mindedness because there's so much truth in there. I don't even know where to begin on that.
Let's circle back to those chakras. And
Yeah.
I think most listeners have heard of the chakras. We've seen the hangings on the wall, they have different colors. But what is the significance of the chakras, of acknowledging them, of working with them in this modern age? Because I know they're ancient.
Yeah. No, so this conversation that I'm having today is about being a modern mystic and
Mm,
healing your own body. So the information that I'm sharing is not new. It's not new agey. It's
right.
not forward thinking, really. It's based in the Vedic sciences that have gone back, goodness, I don't even know how many years. But listeners, I just want to back up and just do a little bit of chakra anatomy, a 101, just to give you a baseline for those of you that might not be familiar with it. And chakra really in Sanskrit just means wheel.
Mm.
And so it's a wheel or a vortex of energy. Okay. And for the sake of today's conversation, Greg, we'll just talk about the 7 main energy centers that are most intimately connected to the physical body. And so the first energy center, I'm just going to give you the depth of the understanding, and then I'll give you a bird's eye overview of the remaining 6. But the first energy center is located deep within the pelvis. The basic themes, corresponding themes of this energy center have to do with safety, security, and trust.
Mm.
Okay. So those are the overarching themes. Now, there is a nerve plexus that is affiliated with this energy center. They're the nerves that exit out of the triangular bone of the low back, the sacrum, and a few of the lumbar nerve plexuses. So when there's a highway of nerves, then there's going to be an endocrine gland that's associated with this energy center. And this is true for all 7 that I'm going to make reference to today. So the first energy center is intimately connected to the adrenals. And an endocrine system, a gland, is responsible for the production of hormones. That's where your hormones come from, the endocrine system. The hormones that get generated specifically out of the adrenal system, and you guys are all familiar with them, you just haven't identified them yet, but it's the adrenaline, the epinephrine, the norepinephrine, the cortisol, the DHEA. Now, most of us listening have had the opportunity to transition from a working adult and possibly into the rewirement phase of our neurology where we're beginning to slow down. And so, even though we've been conditioned to be more sympathetic driven when we're working and pushing and grinding, now we're sliding more into parasympathetics. So when we look at the first energy center, somebody says, how do you know when you have discordance in that energy center? And I'm going to say, oh, let me ask, do you have any radiation that travels from the butt, thighs, knees, ankles, and feet? Do you have hip pain? Do you have knee issues, ankle, plantar fasciitis within the feet? Do you have neuromas within your feet? Do you have varicosities? Do you have hemorrhoids? All of those physical symptoms are a sign of an energetic discordance within that first energy center. So you may be thinking, how did this happen? And I would say, could it be that there was a theme of abandonment in your young life, in your younger self? Did your family uproot? Did you move around a lot? Did your family lack stability financially? Were you in a situation that was unsafe? Is there something that compromised your ability to deeply trust? So you're looking at life themes that may have involved divorces, bankruptcies, financial scarcity. Those are the themes of abandonment. Those are the themes that emotionally get stored in this energy center.
Mm.
Now, all of us we've gotten to this in age in our life. We're okay. We've dealt with a certain amount of those repressed or repressed emotions, we think, but our body is telling us otherwise. Our body, we think, literally, that the signals come from the brain down to the body. And that does happen via the central nervous system. But there's 80% of the information that comes from the body goes back up into the brain.
Mhm.
So if you're having these physical aches and pains that travel down your butt, thighs, knees, ankles, and foot, chances are there are emotions that are stored within the tissues that are unresolved and causing that discordance energetically.
Mm.
So the complexity, this is what I love.
Yeah.
Greg, the human body never ceases to amaze me. The complexity of this is so rich, but it's for you as an individual to explore. Nobody's going to do it for you. It's not like you're going to walk into a physician's office and they're going to give you some pharmaceutical that's going to say, chakra 1 be healed. That's not how it works. You get to be very willing and able to receive the information from the body and be willing to look at the information that it provides to you, as uncomfortable or as joyous as it may be. So that's just the sampling of the complexity of the information you can get from the energy centers. But if you would like, I can just briefly talk about the overarching themes and the locations of the other 6, if you think that would be beneficial for the listeners.
Yes, and I just want to put a bow on something you said. let's go back to suspending disbelief that this is all possible. But you just translated that into the physiology that is in each of us. So if we all have that physiology, then everybody also has the energetic side of that. You can't have one without the other. So we're all here together, people. That you're listening. We can all talk about chakras and not feel weird. Okay? Take it
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. And no, I love that premise because I'm just a normal person, right? I come from a science background. So really what I want to do is to be a face or a voice that bridges the gap between the hardcore science that we know into some of the science that has yet to be proven. And it's not a big stretch. You guys, I have been doing things on the human body that haven't been scientifically proven for the last 30 years. And I have to openly admit to my patients saying, this really hasn't been scientifically proven, but I understand that there's a connection between these things. And my patients, quite honestly, they don't care.
They just want to feel better.
They're like, Mary, I feel better.
Yes.
And I'm like, hurrah for that. That's what
Yeah.
it's all about.
Yeah. Let's just briefly go through the other
Okay.
6.
All right. So the second energy center is located just below the belly button, and it is most connected with our deepest desires and creativity. So obviously, it's connected into the ovaries or the testes, and it is also a place of where you hold emotions for other people. So, for all of you people pleasers out there, I know you know who you are. When you think that you're doing a person a service, when you say, oh, they're really sad or they're grieving or they're in pain, I'm going to carry that for them. I know you have the ability and I know you do it from a place of love, but I'm telling you, it's not worth compromising that energy center for them. It's just not. The third energy center is located in the upper abdomen. This has to do with control, autonomy, sovereignty, individuality. This is where all of our self-worth and self-confidence comes from. And so the lower 3 energy centers that I've just talked about are most connected to the physical body. Then as we move into the space of the heart, that's more of a bridge between the physical body and the energetic or spiritual body. But the heart is all about compassion for self and others. The 5th energy center in the center of the throat is dialing in your authentic expression, using your words, whether it be through writing, through voice, through dance, expressing what your deepest desires are. Then you ascend into the space just behind the forehead, and that's where you set the intention for clear vision. So that's where your clairvoyance comes through. And then on top of the head of the crown is the 7th chakra, which is the highest frequency of all. And so that connects you into all that exists outside of you, into the divine. And that's where your direct knowing comes from.
And the pineal gland in the
Yes,
brain, hidden away, tucked away inside, is also related to this highest energy frequency.
it
If
is.
I'm not
I love
mistaken.
the pineal gland. Okay.
What's
Now,
not to
listen.
love?
Yeah. So, listeners, the pineal gland is about the size of your pinky fingernail. Okay. And it looks like a baby pine cone. So, you think about the stacking of a pine cone. And so, when you think about that, think that there's a lot of surface area. It's a crystalline structure. It responds to vibration and light and sound. So this is the endocrine gland that is connected into the third eye or the 6th chakra. And it has to do, you can find evidence of like rods and cones, which are the cells that are found within your physical eyeball. So when you are meditating on the space of the pineal, you can expand out through the sixth chakra. And I know you talked about Dr. Joe Dispenza. So he talks about seeing into the space beyond the physical and expand the density of the space so that the veil beyond your physical and your biofield, the energy surrounding your physical body, then meets what is also known as the universal energy or the quantum field. And so in the quantum field, it's a field of infinite possibilities. And so when you're connected into the field of infinite possibilities, you can choose to make the alignment of versions with yourself that may be free of conditioned responses, may be free of physical illnesses or stored emotional trauma. So all of that is accessible within our energy system, and we all have the ability to tap into it.
I just want people to take that in for a second. We all have the ability to tap into that, right? It's not, like you said, you're just a normal person. You happen to love science. You got good at it, but it's really exciting. And as I've gotten older and I've spoken to lots of people at events in their 60s and beyond, it's a time when we either come to the idea or we start to wonder, is this all there is? In a way, not can I have another house, but in a way, maybe is there an afterlife? Is there
Mhm.
something to this precognition? Is there something about telepathy that I want to know more about? And I just think it's an infinite palette for us to, or it's an infinite library of ideas. And then we have a big, new, shiny, clean palette or canvas that we can use to put these things together for ourselves. And you said you grew up in a Catholic family. I did too. I didn't last long because at 13, the idea of three gods and one that the nuns couldn't explain to me, I thought, Mom, this is really not working for me. She's like, all right, you don't have to go there. So then since 13, I have been trying to discover what else is possible. What else is there to this human life experience? I know I've got on a tangent, but I just want to let the listeners take in the idea that all of this possibility is so exciting. It expands a life at a time when the world would like us to contract.
Yes, yes, it's part of the trillions of the cells that are within my physical body. So I know it to be the truth for me. And so when listeners, I invite you to explore these notions on your own. Have your own experiences.
Mhm.
Because after all, isn't experiential awareness 10 times more powerful than the intellectual experience?
Yeah.
In life is teaching us that it is not the dimension that we perceived it thus far. And that if you begin to look at it from a multi-dimensional perspective, it becomes so rich with possibilities. And
Mhm.
that's way more exciting to me than anything else.
Yeah, I agree. I want to make sure that the listeners know that they can work with you, and not necessarily as a chiropractic doctor, but in sessions one-on-one with for medical intuition and energetic healing. Can you tell me a little bit about that for the audience?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking because everybody's like, how the heck does she do the work that she's
Yeah,
saying?
exactly.
Yeah, like how is this even possible? I believe and I know that energy is not bound by time nor space. And so I hold most of my energetic readings one-on-one are held remotely. And so what ends up happening is that there is an entrainment. I hold a frequency, and then there is an oscillation of frequency where we become unified, not merged, but the energy frequency become unified. And then with permission, and only with permission, do I lift the veil for a reading and a healing. And so I do that by asking you to state your name 3 times, only for the purpose of reclaiming your spirit. She, they, it, them are yours to inhabit within your human home. And then I expand my field and I open up my ability to receive information. And then my job then, Greg, becomes I just get to sense and say everything that is shown to me, I try to articulate it in a way that it makes sense to you. Oftentimes, I find myself saying, wow, I just spit out a lot of information. Did that make sense to you? Because that clearly makes no sense to me. And then
Mhm.
the other person receiving the healing says, oh no, that made perfect sense to me because it's information that is designed for them. I step away from, lean away from my analytical prefrontal cortex, and I lean into that beautiful spaciousness of the pineal, and I allow intuition to flow through me, information to flow through me. And Greg, people do it for a variety of different reasons. Maybe that they are grieving a loss of a loved one and they want to make sure that other person is safe and healthy on the other side. Maybe they have limiting belief systems that hold them back and having truly heartfelt relationships, maybe with their grandkids. Maybe they're going through various different transitions physically and they want help and support on the physical level. And that's one way people can choose to work with me. I do group healings to lean into the somatic body. I guide people to better understand what's happening within their physical bodies. And then I think I was sharing with you that I'm pretty excited that I finally have curated some of my best and most powerful tools into a toolbox kit. And so I'm holding space for a cohort of people to walk through some of the basic and energy medicine techniques, not to learn them, but to integrate them and to embody them. And that happens in May of this year as well.
That's really exciting. And your
Thanks.
website is Dr. Mary Sanders, SANDERS.com.
That's correct. It's Dr. Mary Sanders, so
Oh,
you don't
right,
spell it.
DR,
Yeah,
sorry.
you're good.
And I think on your website, you have a free 15-minute consult. What would that be for?
Yeah, that's for anybody who says, "Hey, I'm curious.
Oh, okay.
I think this lady might be onto something, but I don't know if she's right for me." And so then I say, that is absolutely, I get it. Curiosity, pick up the phone, let's connect, and you're going to know intuitively, one way or another, if you want to proceed and move forward and work with me one-on-one or in a group environment, you'll know. So that's what the discovery call is all about.
Yeah, which is great. And I think it is really important for people to have that energy. It's an energetic connection.
It's an exchange, it's a two-way exchange.
Yes,
And so
absolutely.
we should be interviewing our physicians. We want the right person to be working with us. If it's not a good match, what is the point of the relationship?
Exactly. And we're going to then go have to seek somebody else because I don't know about listeners, but I cannot work with whether it's any kind of professional. If it's a coach, if it's a doctor, if it's a healer, I want to feel completely safe. Let's put it that way. I want to know I'm going to be heard. I want to feel safe. I'm up for a challenge with a doctor. If a doctor says, I think you need this, and I come with my own information, let's have a conversation. Same with a healer. I think dialogue and communication are more and more important because there seem to be less and less listening in this time. So I'm going to heal the world by teaching people how to listen to one another. How about that?
And they should be listening from a place of compassion and curiosity.
Absolutely. And let me just say to all of us, we should listen to ourselves with compassion. You said it earlier in the call. We tend to, oh, I should have gone to the chiropractor for my shoulder and I didn't go, and oh, I should. And all of that is also negative energy circulating around in our little bodies that are just trying to do their thing and keep us well and happy. So be nice to yourselves, people. Be kind. Any closing words for us, Mary?
No, I just love what you said. I want that energy, the words to land solidly with the listeners.
I guess I'm saying it because I could probably practice it today. I don't know. Anyway, thank you so much for your time. It's been fascinating, interesting, educational, and lovely. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you too, Greg. And just the mere fact that you're holding space to have these conversations, that's something special. So
Thank
thank you.
you. Acknowledged. Thank you. And people, I'll be back next week with another fabulous guest. Be well until then.